Good evening. This is Geeks Assembled, and we are talking about Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Woo.
A fantastic book, a wonderful story, and an epic tale. And we are discussing the movie. The movie presented with Gary Oldman as Dracula. I will not say more because there are lots of people on this cast, and I'd like to let them share their experience with this movie with you. Let us go first to Craig and David, who seem to be walking in the light. Let's see how dark things go.
The children of the night. What sweet music they make. The thing is, this started off the whole goth thing, Bela Lugosi's dead, I thought this movie was...
Far from the Merrying Crowd.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. In another movie there. No, this version was brilliant. I mean, Nosferatu was my favorite by Moroder. It was a silent movie back in the 24, 27, maybe, I can't remember, maybe 31. I just thought Gary Oldman as Dracula was just brilliant, he really lived the part. And anyone who could play Sid Vicious and Beethoven and all the other characters played in his life, it's just really cool. Or like was Renfield as Tom Waits as Renfield, brilliant, The whole movie's got a real sinister feel. I like the way it separated the images with the peacock feathers, which was like an old sort of 1930s style of closing a scene and bringing it back in, act one, act two, this kind of thing, Yeah, I think it was one of the best renditions. All right, you had the tongue-in-cheek 70s ones with Christopher Lee, but it seems like the whole vampire genre has gone on to another plateau now of the Twilight and the Anna Rice stuff. But I'm a big fan of the Dracula movies. There's a great line in Ed Wood, one of the great classic sort of directors. He actually met Bela Lugosi, and he was saying, well, in the movie, I don't know, it's like paraphrased or spoofed, but and then he says, if you want to make it with a dud, get to see Dracula because they understand. Thank you.
All right, Craig, are you available for the further comment from this duo trio there?
I didn't get a chance to see this one. Sorry.
That's fine. All right, we'll move over to. Let's go over to Connor, please. Talk about Dracula, please.
Yeah, I've seen this twice now, and I've said it for like the past 3 years, but Gary Oldman is the best living actor right now, if not ever.
Yep.
The way he metamorphosizes into every character he plays is only something that one or two actors can do that are working today. And this is probably, I won't say his best performance, but it's in his top three, probably. It's the one that gave him the recognition that he's got today, I think. That and JFK when he played Lee Harvey Oswald.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, an unbelievable actor. Give me a movie with Gary Oldman any day of the week and I'll just eat it up, because that guy, I'm shocked he's not shitting Oscars, to be honest, because it almost feels like he's underappreciated for his art, his craft. Because he puts so much effort into every character. He changes his voice pretty much every role. I watched a video once of his filmography, and he's never got the same voice for any two films. That's how incredible.
He's genius. He's absolute genius.
He is a genius. That's one word to say for Gary Oldman. But that aside, Francis Ford Coppala, I wouldn't associate really with horror, but this is shot beautifully. The battle scenes at the beginning, I love how gothic it is. This is such a departure from The Godfather and is it The Conversation that was where the guy's head blew up. Films like that Francis kind of and Apocalypse Now, of course, that he became known for. This is very much a departure, and it is a really gory and bloody affair. To be fair, it's I kind of expected it. I knew going in that it was quite bloody because I got told it was, but there's just some real dirty gore in this. It's like when the wolf attacks Lucy in the bed and kills her eventually, how the room just kind of explodes in blood and the blood goes all over the white bedding and all that sort of stuff. It's just, it's almost too gratuitous. It's a bit over the top. It's a bit indulgent in its gore. But yeah, it's such a good movie. I'm not a massive horror fan, but I'd put this as probably my favourite horror film. The performances are great. As I said, Gary Oldman is a genius. Winona Ryder, before she walked into that store, yeah, fantastic. I don't know how old she was here, and I think she was it late 20s or mid 20s. This was kind of at the peak of her career in the 90s, wasn't it? She's fantastic. Richard E. Grant is in there. Tom Waits as Renfield. My God, what a performance! It's just it's some great at the time not well known actors. Kind of I don't know how faithful this is to the book because I haven't read the book.
Pretty much.
Is it quite faithful? Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah.
It has many of the same plot points and the same turning things. It isn't completely accurate, but that's all right. It's delightful.
It follows the diary, doesn't it? It follows the diary, Parker's diary, quite accurately. But
yeah. I love the cinematography, the red skies and the way it's shot is just, and even down to the costumes with Dracula's armor right at the beginning. That's just fabulous. It's a very kind of overly gothic, gratuitously violent take on it. And of all the Draculas I've seen, which is not many, but I've seen a few, it's hands down my favorite.
Glad to hear it. And let's go to Texas Tim, please.
Hello. I'd forgotten how good this movie was. I agree with everything that's been said so far. I saw it in the theaters back when it came out in the early 90s. And at the time, I don't know, I was probably drunk. I didn't think much of it. But watching it again, I was impressed with it very much. Like has been said, the acting is great. The direction is great. I think at the time, he was trying to bring to tell these stories again and stick to the books. Is what the Coppola was trying to pull off, which is why it's tied up with the Frankenstein that came out about a year later by Kenneth Branagh, and that was the same kind of, although that was less successful than this one. But it's a very good film. The way it's shot is very dreamy. I'd forgotten how dreamy it was. The scenes all bleed into each other, and it's like back and forth through time. They're kind of trying to give you that star-crossed love story kind of thing going on too, which I think is pretty successful with the Dracula and what's her name, Elizabeth, I guess. But it's an excellent movie. It was much better than I thought it was. It looks of its time though. It looks pretty 90s. I don't think there's a whole lot of CGI in it. I mean, there's just a lot of good practical effects, and one thing that I was surprised was that I forgotten was the humor in it too. Van Helsing gets a lot of lines that are not meant to. I mean, I don't know if they're meant to be funny. The way Hopkins delivers them. I mean, like, oh, I'm just gonna cut off her head and stab her in the heart. You know, that kind of thing. He's like, okay, not exactly dinner conversation there, but no, it was. I was surprised at how good it was after so much time. I mean, I had never thought much of it after seeing it the one time, and now you look at it and it's like, wow, this holds up really well. It's a really good film. I would say underrated. I agree with Connor about Oldman. He is an underrated. I think he's an understated actor as well. He knows how to pick apart too. Like, I mean, he's had a lot of iconic roles just in his early days. I mean, he's playing, like it's been said, Sid Vicious and you know, Lee Harvey
and Joe Alton,
now here
the writer, you know.
yeah. And here he is in the big leagues.
And he pulled off Commissioner Gordon as well.
Oh yeah. He's a very iconic actor. Yeah, that's pretty much my opening thoughts. It was an excellent revisit to this movie.
Wow.
Glad. We're going to go up to speak with Jake next and save the best for last.
I've never seen this film before. It is my first experience going into it. I've obviously, growing up, I've seen like the DVD, the posters. I've heard a lot from family members how good it is. But I just really didn't have a chance to sit down and watch it until this week. I thought, what a perfect time. I mean, with all this murder stuff I'm watching, let's watch Dracula. And I'm glad I did while I was in that state of mind. I could appreciate the violence in it a bit more. But my God, it was such a good film. Don't get me wrong, it wasn't the best film I've ever seen, not the best horror film I've ever seen. I do have some issues with it, but I'll get into that in the next segment. But Gary Oldman and Anthony Hopkins stole this film completely. They, out of the whole cast, and obviously they two played Renfield, but to me, Hopkins and Oldman stood out the most. But speaking about Oldman's Dracula, I much preferred Oldman as the creepy old decaying Dracula than the young Dracula. He was so good. The voice he was putting on everything, with the shadow moving around behind him when he frantically licks the shaving blade. It was such a good performance. And I love films where the villain of the piece is portrayed really well. And if I'm not mistaken, I think it's the first time we've seen a Dracula film where Dracula's design is based off Vlad the Impaler, film-wise. And I thought it was a nice little callback. Like, there's one thing I'm going to disagree with Connor on, is I hated the armour he was wearing at the beginning. I think it looked ridiculous. But that's me. I liked all the other costume pieces. It was that I didn't like. I like that it was red, but it looked a bit too plasticky for me. And yeah, but it's good. It's a good, solid film. It ran really well. I do think it went on a little bit too long for me, because I can't really sit through long films. That's just me. But yeah, it was a good film. I'd watch it again on Halloween or something if I wanted a good vampire film. But yeah, it's a good film.
Awesome. And we'll go back to Lee. Lee, what's your opening thoughts, please?
Yeah, well, in my opinion, let's get some of the stuff out of the way. It didn't stick to the book. As Jake's pointed out, they mixed Vlad the Impaler with Dracula. Vlad the Impaler was a real life person. Dracula wasn't. There were two different people. Changes in the book. Whitby was never mentioned because in this film they never went to Whitby. They went straight to London. There's a lot of changes in this, and I don't understand why they called it Bram Stoker's. There must have been another Dracula movie out at the same time, and they must have thought, right, we'll have to differentiate between the two movies. Let's call this one Bram Stoker's. I don't know, but for me, there was a lot of changes from the book, and I have read the book. Gary Oldman. This was Gary Oldman's first big Hollywood movie. He'd been in movies before, you know, Sid and Nancy and Prick Up Your Ears and all like that, but this is where he went to Hollywood for this one, and it wasn't to play Dracula. He said he didn't really want to play Dracula. He just wanted to work with Coppala, and he also wanted just to say the lines, "I have crossed oceans of time to find you." He says that line there. He says that sold me. But it is a good movie. Is it too long? I don't think it is too long. The acting in it is acting is okay. We wouldn't have got this movie if it wasn't for Winona Ryder, because she was the person who took the script to Coppola. Coppola didn't know anything about this. She just turned up, have a read of this, and he loved it. So it was down to Winona for getting this one made, I think. It's very gothic looking. I agree. Oldman is one of the best actors around, but there are plenty of good actors as well. But he puts his heart and soul into every role he does, and as he was a very, very good friend of the chameleon of music, David Bowie, he's the chameleon really of movies. He can change his looks, his voice to anything.
Yeah, I see that. That's a really good parallel.
But there's just the goddamn awful thing about this movie is nobody's mentioned it. Keanu Reeves. His English accent is absolutely shit. He cannot do an English accent. It was goddamn awful. I don't know how they let him get away with it. I really don't. But the movie was a success. It won 3 Academy Awards, and also as well, it produced one of the best songs out from the credits. Annie Lennox, "Love Song for a Vampire," is an absolutely beautiful song. If you ever look that up and listen to that, that is just brilliant. That's my opening thoughts for now. Over to you, Susan.
I love where you ended that opening thoughts, Lee, with the Annie Lennox song. Yeah, beautiful, beautiful piece of film work. Yeah, there were some of the plot point. I mean, the plot points were where the book was, but I see your point about it being different from the story in that it married Vlad the Impaler with Dracula. But I've been to Romania, and a lot of Romanians believe that Vlad the Impaler is Dracula, and they call his castle Dracula's castle, and it is thought that way. And so yeah, I was going to mention Keanu Reeves because I'm the American and I'm one of the 2 Americans in this podcast, and I can say that, he should have just done it with his normal voice, because it's bonkers. It, but he was in his height. I mean, he was matrixing, and he was Bill and Tedsing, and I mean, like, there was just like all these like super powerful, like he was riding these big wave, and so of course he got away with it, kind of, except for in the Geeks Assembled podcast, which we're going to bring it to light and shine a light right in his face and go, why, bad decision. Anyway, my my love of Dracula is immense. I think that the character, the story is romantic, and this is a little steampunk romantic. It's like a little, like, that dance of steampunk that basically is a version of a tango done in Victorian. Like, you've got the the beginnings of women empowerment, and so you see that that Mina Harker is like, no, do not talk to me. But then, yes, she turned, and like that just shows like the power of Dracula, is that he was able to convince people to go against their better natures. Oh, and I mean, it's pretty brilliant and brutal, and I love the peacock feathers, and
Mm.
the other intermix scene was the blood flow, like all those little blood corpuscles floating in the sky, floating in the air, like floating across
Yeah,
the screen. There
yeah,
was millions of those like things. It was like it was little bits of inter scene sort of imagery that was impelling. It was all about the blood, and that was fun. I mean, then all of the animals that they used, that was also really amazing. And there were um and the sensory. I mean, it was all about the sensory, and that was great. So yeah, this was a feast for the eyes and the ears with the Annie Lennox and everything other than Keanu Reeves's accent and his decisions to do that. And everything else was amazing. I mean, I love Anthony Hopkins.
Mm.
You know, I just watched him in the Shadowlands, and but this one he was so pointed. I mean, he had brutal humor. It was intensely uh, pointed, and so was everything else. And so I have said some of my favorite moments. So let's flip the order. Let's go to Lee first for his favorite moments, please.
Um, well, I will agree with what Jake says. I preferred Oldman as the decrepit old
Yeah.
Dracula Count. That was so well acted. I mean, one scene there is with the vampire brides and Dracula turning up with the baby.
Oh,
That scene was just so whoa. And he gives the baby to the brides, and then he just starts laughing at the screen at Harker. That is just so chilling. He's, with his hands, just laughing. Wow. It's. I mean, I'll leave the shadow stuff to Jake because I won't spoil the stuff. But it's the way that it's filmed. It's, as you said, the scenery is it's just so filmed so dark, and they've got a mixture of darkness and the brightness of the red, the blood, and it's just so well mixed. What other scenes do I like? Yeah, Hopkins was good. His it's the first time I've seen Van Helsing portrayed like that. I mean, usually I think of Van Helsing, I think of Peter Cushing. Um, but brilliant portrayal. Yeah, and whoever cast Tom Waits as Renfield
great.
was genius. Because Tom Waits, he's a well-known singer songwriter, American singer songwriter, for well known for his gravelly voice and the drugs. Yeah, genius casting. And when I first saw it, I thought, wow, what's he doing here? But wow, brilliant. Yeah, it's just brilliant. It was set in the Victorian time, London. It was the asylum as well. The scenes in the asylum with the guards having to wear those caged sort of helmet safety cages, but all the others who were walking about with the doctors who were walking about with not on. I think, what's going on here? But yeah, it's just, and I sort of agree with what Jake said about the armor. It did look plasticky, but I think it was supposed to be sort of tight leather. I think it was supposed to be that sort of leathery looking, but design, yeah, it's the design of the clothing is brilliant. The red robe he was wearing, the very long robe, and instead the armor. And then when he went over to England when he was younger and all like that, having a vampire walk about in the streets was a first, I think, in movies for this one. I can't think of any other one. What the vampire walks in the street wearing purple sunglasses. Cool, a cool vampire. But yeah, all in all, it's a damn good movie. Apart from a little niggle here and there, but yeah, I enjoyed it. Gary Oldman, big thumbs up.
Over to you, Jake.
My favourite scene is whole film, and it's full of good stuff. It's when they're sitting in a restaurant with Anthony Hopkins, and the woman's like so worried about her friend, going, "Oh, how was she? I hope she wasn't ill," or something like that. And he turns around and goes, "No, I staked her in the heart and cut off her head as he's carving his beef or something." Oh, I love it. I adore. I've always liked Anthony Hopkins in whatever he's been in. And I'm not a huge movie buff. I haven't seen many, like lots of films as if say Lee or Susan or Connor have or anyone else. But if I'd have not seen this before and seen it in the cinema, I would have watched it because I like Gary Oldman. Obviously, I mentioned him in our Darkest Hour review. He was really good in that, and he was really good in this as well. Anthony Hopkins, I've always loved Hannibal Lecter. All that stuff. I thought he's just great. I look forward to that dementia film he's doing next year. But another favourite thing I like about this film, which I was talking about before this cast started, was how his shadow was almost like demonic Peter Pan. So he's got his separate entity with him that is his shadow. And I love that. That was such a creepy idea because he saw his shadow moving before he did. And it added to the performance so well because he really did give a good performance as a demonic creature that wants to kill everyone until he finds the love that he wants. And I like that. And I thought the whole cinematography was great. It was just a really well put together film. Although, like Lee was mentioning, wasn't completely accurate to the book. But then again, what Dracula film has, to be honest. I don't think we're ever going to see a really accurate film to the book because it's a very bit long book. There's lots of bits and bobs. It'll be like a 5-hour film. But yeah, it's my favourite moments really. And like Lee said about the armour that I didn't like, yeah, it did look a bit plasticky. It looked like he was out of He-Man or something. Like it's coming with a lot of Power Rangers. No, Power Rangers. It looked like something you'd see a villain in Power Rangers wear. That's what it reminded me of. I was sitting here trying to think. But that's my favourite moments. It was just Gary Oldman and Anthony Hopkins were superb and stole the show from everyone else.
Thanks. And then to Tim, please.
I found those battle scenes or those flashback scenes pretty effective. It reminded me of those Ralph Bakshi animated films where they film live actors and then make them animated. It kind of had that effect to it. I thought was pretty interesting.
Cool. So is that everything? Yeah. Okay. Then we'll go to Connor then.
On the subject of Anthony Hopkins and Gary Oldman, this is actually the first of two collaborations between them because Gary Oldman later appeared in Hannibal in 2001 as Mason Verger. And if you want to see Gary Oldman in prosthetic again, looking absolutely terrifyingly creepy, watch that film because that is one fucked up film, and he looks fucked up.
Feed him to the pigs.
Yeah, fucking hell.
Oh God,
I thought you were going to say The Longest Day.
oh, that was good.
Oh, is he in the? Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah. So
what is it? The one where he's Churchill.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
What? I don't think Anthony Hopkins is in that, is he?
No, I was talking about Oldman. He recently played Churchill in that film.
Oh, yeah, I was
Longest
talking
Day.
about. Yeah, I was talking about when Hopkins and Oldman did a film together. It's anyway. Yeah, the battle scenes, as Tim mentioned, were very effective. I liked at the beginning how it kind of opens with the guy getting spiked, and then his body just kind of jolts down the spike. That's pretty. That kind of that sets the tone. But one of my favourite scenes, and it's a scene where everything comes together: the score, the direction, the acting, and everything like that. the atmosphere is when Lucy kind of, I guess she kind of gets possessed in a nightmare, and she leaves the mansion in this big red dress.
Yeah.
You just see her kind of swooning down these stairs. Then she goes into this maze area, and she gets raped by Gary Oldman in wolf form, in absolutely terrifying. In fact, I'm not sure. I know that was Dracula, but I'm not sure if Gary Oldman actually was the guy in that suit.
I believe so. Go for it.
It seems like something Gary would do. Not obviously rape a woman, but play the part in every aspect. Yeah, so that's got to be one. Just the score. I know that everyone's mentioned the Annie Lennox song at the end, but I think the score overall is just magnificent. It's unbelievable. I also like the gloomy kind of shots of the boat sailing. Even just like small things like that. It just kind of, it's so not Coppala that it's just crazy that he found another level years and years after he kind of, I guess, went off the radar a bit, because I don't think he did much between Apocalypse Now and that was of note, did he? That was terribly well received. So yeah, it was a bit of a return to form for Coppola. It's just so well shot that kind of every scene is illuminated to an extra level, because just everything just comes together so well. And yeah, just because of his look. Another of my favourite scenes is the introduction of like Prince Vlad, the Prince Vlad look. I think he looks brilliant as steampunk Dracula. It just works so well. Any scene with Gary Oldman in is my favourite.
That's a lot of scenes there, Connor. All right, David, then please.
Yeah. I think the scene that sticks in my head while we've been talking about the movie was when Lucy comes down the steps to her coffin with the baby, and they're all waiting to decapitate her. You know, that scene still freaks me out when I see it. And I've seen the movie a few times. It's so scary, you know. She comes down the steps and the candles light on their own, you know, and she walks in with this baby who she's going to eat. You know, it's just really gruesome, you know. But I think I agree with Connor. You know, I really liked the armor. I thought it was cool, you know. I thought it was really good. And Gary is an old Vlad and the new Vlad, when he reassesses his image and all that in London. Great shots. And I thought old Canoe was okay. You know, Mr. Reeves was okay. You know, I mean, obviously, like, you know, he's not English, but you know, he probably added to the box score of the whole movie. But getting in sort of the guy who just come from Hannibal, sort of like coming from sort of like Silence of the Lambs sort of fame, and he even sort of like parodied a little part of it when he goes, he takes a hold of Nina, and he goes, "And Nina, you are one of them." So he actually sort of like paraphrases sort of Silence of the Lambs. The guy must have been, his bank balance must have rolled, you know, beyond measure at that point. So, but Anthony Hopkins is such a great, you know, he's probably one of the greats of England, up there with Olivier and people like this. He's a thespian, as Craig said, absolutely. But yeah, I think like Connor said, I like when the ship was at sea, that was great, you know. And of course the peacock feathers closing over the scene, as I mentioned before, that was really interesting. Yeah, and the only thing that left me a little bit perplexed was the last part, right at the end when the kills sort of Dracula, and then he reverts back to his prince sort of persona, like, you know, and God blesses him and all that, and he blesses her, and he takes the mark off her head, the consecrated bread, or whatever it was, like, and I just thought then they said, let's leave them together, and I'm thinking, well, he's dead, he's gone, so they're leaving her, you know, and it just that was really, but that sort of mystified me a bit. Anyway, cool.
Yeah. The chase scene at the end was amazing. Yeah, and let's see, the things that stood out absolutely in stark reference were Dracula's brides. I love that scene. I love the scene in when they're in the carousel or in the looking for the cinema, and he like that one. That was so steampunk. I just think that was just fun. And the other thing that I really loved was I love all of Lucy's boyfriends, because I mean this cast was amazing. I mean her boyfriends were Richard E. Grant, Carrie Elwes, and Billy Campbell. I mean, wow, three really cool actors. And I mean, yeah, Tom Waits was amazing, and then I mean there was Dagmar Stansova, who was in like, anyway, she was amazing as the sister who rescues Harker, and let's see, yeah, that pretty much everybody else has been mentioned. Yeah, so fantastic story, and really emotionally engaging, and satisfying. This movie's so satisfying. And I'm gonna open the floor. Anything else you guys want to say about it? Because there was so much satisfying material there.
The prosthetics with the giant bat sort of creature at the end was so amazing. Yeah. That definitely was Gary Oldman in that. That was just lit up the screen. That was, as soon as that appeared, wow, what are you going to do with that if you come face to face with that?
There wasn't a crappy bit of production design to be seen, and this is just, it was an unbelievably put together kind of movie. I'm not sure if they filmed well. I guess everything was kind of built, wasn't it? Because it had to look 18th century. So sets wise, just everything down to the finest detail was unbelievable. The costumes, especially, as I've already mentioned. Yeah, I don't think I've seen for a kind of period piece. I'm struggling to think of a better put together movie, to be honest, in terms of just kind of grasping a certain atmosphere and a certain kind of look, aesthetic. I'm really struggling to think of any other films that have kind of done it as well as this. And I think the production design is one of the major kind of highlights of this film. And I'm wondering if that's one of the Oscars that it won. I'll have to have a quick Google now and see.
Tell you what it won. It won Best Costume Design, Best Sound Effects Editing, and Best Makeup.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
So, did you guys like did you guys like the way that never mind that question. Never mind that question, because you've already answered it. As I think back.
Gary Oldman did win the Best Actor in the Saturn Awards for it. He won the Best Actor for that.
But he didn't get nominated for an Oscar, did he? He didn't get nominated until...
Yeah, I'm just looking. No, he didn't.
So it took them 30 years to nominate Gary Oldman for an Oscar.
Yeah.
Dustin.
Yeah.
That is a long time. This was Coppola's right after Godfather 3, I think. I think that Godfather 3 came out in like 89 or 90, and then this is like 93 or something.
1990. This was 92, 93.
92. Yeah. So I think this was the right. He may have done other work, but he didn't direct between Godfather 3 and this one.
He did do some. I mean, I know Connor said he was a bit quiet before this, but he did do a couple of good movies in the 80s, Rumblefish and The Outsiders.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I forgot about Godfather 3, but I guess so did everybody else.
Yeah.
It's not a movie.
Sophia Coppola, God Almighty.
Rumblefish. Oh.
Well, in her defense, she had to step in because Ryder had to drop out at the last minute. So I mean, it's really one of those certain circumstances where she was, and she had acted in his movies before as smaller parts. In fact, I believe she is the baby in Godfather 2. Not that that's acting. I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think this is why she brought him the script, because she dropped out of the movie, and she felt a bit guilty for doing it, and she came across this script and handed it to him and says, "What do you think?"
Sick of working with Tim Burton.
There you go.
Yeah. All right. Anything else, guys?
Good.
All
There
right.
was a bloke in Stoke-on-Trent called Bram, and got really wound up. So there was like a small claims tribunal,
Really?
and they had to change the name to Bram Stoker.
Huh.
Thanks for that, Chris.
Yeah, that was random. Anyway, let's rate this thing and I expect I do know what you lot are going to say about this and where your scores are going to be. Let's start with David. What's your final say and score?
Well, I do like this movie, and I've seen it a couple of times. You know, I watch it sometimes when I'm a bit good, and I would say a 9.5. I'm giving that just because I think Mr. Reeves and Winona Ryder and everyone did a brilliant job. You know, Gary Oldman, genius, just absolute. It's just amazing how he can change his voice and his look and be believable. That's a sign of a great actor. He will be remembered with the great 9.5.
9.5. Good score. Connor, please.
Gary Oldman is going to win an Oscar next year because he's in the race. Thank God for that. This gets a 9.5 because Gary Oldman.
All right. Texas Tim, please.
Yeah, everybody would have given it a 10. I should have given
Yeah, I
it
agree. It's a lot better than I remembered it. I give it a 9.5 as well. It's an excellent film.
Fantastic. All right, Jake, please.
There's a lot of stuff I did enjoy about this film, but there's also a lot of stuff that I wish was in this film. So I can't give it a 10, but I can give it a 9.
Nice. That's really nice. All right, so we'll finish up with Lee.
Just those minor niggles for me for this one. So it's going down a point. So it's 9 medium to well done steaks out of 10 for me.
And I will give it I'll give it 9.5 corpuscles with pigeon or with feathers.
Yeah, with it.
Out of 10. It was beautiful, and I enjoy almost all vampire stuff, including the silly stuff. But this is beautiful, and the fact that they married Vlad and Dracula makes me incredibly happy. It's a very satisfying thing because it actually answers a mystery, and you know, without completely filling in all the details of the mystery. Satisfying, so satisfying. Anyway, I thank you for watching our podcast this evening. And I encourage you to subscribe to our channel. You will subscribe. And I expect you to ring the bell for notifications on our future podcast because we come out with more than one a week, which should be incredibly satisfying for you. And I expect that you will also leave us a comment below how you found Dracula, what your impression is about the whole genre, and where you feel like this movie shined or let you down. Because I don't think too many people will be let down. But if you're let down, let me know so I can really quickly respond to those in the comments. And I encourage you to stay tuned to join us if you'd like. We're a fun group, and then hit the subscribe button. Oh yeah, I already said that. Oh, and give it a like and share it widely. That's right. That's the other part of this. Share these podcasts widely because we're not real super well known yet, but we're worth it. Anyway, thanks for watching and have a fabulous night. Because the creatures of the night, what beautiful noise they make, music they make.